Even at that, even the people who have decided that they're not going to marry, they still find themselves in some kind of intersexual relationship. And this is a fact. Because there are people who don't want to marry, and yet they have, a boyfriend, man friend, whatever you call it. This is why it is important. And why do you think that somebody who doesn't want to marry, why should they have a boyfriend? At least you have said you don't want to marry. So why do you need a man? Why do you need a woman if you have said you don't want to marry? It simply means that intergender companionship is an integral part of life. Intergender companionship is pivotal to mental health. And this is a fact. It could also cause mental problem. But the truth is, men need women, women need men. And that's the facts. Men need women, and women need what? Women need men. We must first establish that fact. Let me also like the men. I'm trying to make sure I lay the foundation for this session. Men need women, and women also need men. Facts. 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 The reason humanity has gotten to where it is now is because of interrelationship between men and women. That's why humanity is where it is today. If men and women refused in the first century to conjugate, let's assume that in the first century, men and women refused to conjugate. In the first century of our history as humanity, men and women decided that, no, I'm not going to marry. If what would they have done? If our ancestors in the first century decided they were not going to conjugate and marry, who would have given birth to all the inventors, to all the scientific greats, to all the engineers, to all the architects, to all the leaders that contributed immensely to our history? Who would have given birth to them? So what that simply means is, until recently, that medical science evolved to a place that many of us don't understand. But evolution will always happen. It took a man and a woman to foster the growth of humanity. That's what happened in the first century, in the earliest days of our, human existence. So this is why we cannot deny, nobody can deny this feeling, these emotions, this thing that is there, this nudge for the opposite gender. Nobody can deny it. Even the people who come on social media to shout about how I don't need a man, I don't need a woman, secretly in their houses off social media, they are in some kind of relationship with some kind of person, some kind of man, some kind of woman. Facts. So it is only natural to yearn for some form of emotional support, physical touch, and companionship from the opposite gender. Very important. Very important. We cannot deny that. And this is why you cannot also assume that you understand completely the dynamics of intergender relationship. We cannot completely. We need to be taught. We need to be groomed. We need to be trained. The reason a lot of us are falling into valleys, you know why? Because we did not gather enough data, information, knowledge, resources that would have helped us to form quality choice, healthy decision. We did not gather those things. We just went ahead and we just chose anything that we saw that was available. Matter of fact, a lot of people who are married right now, they married what was available, not what was desired. A lot of relationships and marriage right now are powered, were motivated by availability. I'm going to repeat that. A lot of relationships right now, and I mean dating, marriage, were and are motivated by availability. You married that person because they were available. You married that woman because she was the one that was available. You married that man because he was the one that was available. That was a person that either was presented to you, that was a person that was presented to you, or that was a person that, made themselves available to you. So it was not based on knowledge. It was not based on intention. It was based on availability. Especially when people get to a certain age, what happens is they become so desperate that the available becomes the desirable. The available becomes the desirable. Now, for many people right now that are dating or are married, the person they are with that person, not because they desire that person, but because it is that person that was available to them. And the fear of the unknown, it happens in a lot of things, in your career, your profession, your goals, exactly, your goals and all that. But it also happens in relationships, that the available now becomes, let me just marry her. She's the one that has always been available to me. Let me just marry him. Well, he's the one that's always available. Although he's abusive, although he cheats, although he has this tendency to be a habitual adulterer. She has this tendency to cheat. She doesn't like accountability. She doesn't want to be responsible for anything. But she's the one that is available for me. He's the one that is available. If I leave him now, who will I see? If I leave her now, when next will I have somebody to marry me? So a lot of people married on the back end of this availability. Availability. There are so many marriages right now. The reason why they are trying to patch the marriage, they are trying to fix things, is because it is motivated by availability, not desirability, however you want to call it. If you can double tap the screen more, share the videos. I want to share a lot of things that will make a lot of us have a rethink, thought-provoking, concepts and insights into these things. So you can now understand, if you are a single person and you are dating, if you should continue with that relationship, or if you should investigate, analyze, run an inventory of that relationship for you to be sure that my relationship is not powered or motivated by availability. It's powered by desirability. It's powered by my intention to want to be with that person. That's what it is. So a lot of marriages, a lot of relationships, they are motivated by availability. People suffer this fear of the unknown, that if I leave him now, there are many people who have stayed in abusive relationships and marriages. There are many ladies, a lot of men who knew that this girl has the tendency to cheat, to sleep with other men. A lot of women right now, you know that this man is a habitual adulterer while dating him, and they still married this person. Why did they do it? They did it because of the fear of the unknown. If I leave him now, who will marry me? If I leave her now, when will I see a fine girl like this? Especially when there are benefits. That's another thing. Especially when there are benefits in a relationship at the dating stage, people can make excuses for a person they are benefiting from, either financially, especially financially, and also physically. There are people who have refused to end their abusive, toxic, unhealthy relationship just because the person is good in bed. Facts. These things happen. Facts. Facts. Just because the person is good in bed. There are people who are beating every day. I have seen ladies who chopped beating while dating. But because the guy drives a Range Rover Sport and he buys them iPhone, and they still married the person because there are benefits. There are benefits in the relationship. Is available and there are benefits. And oftentimes, what those benefits, what that sentiment, what it does is it feeds your superficiality, this superficial nature in us. The moment we find somebody that can feed that superficial nature in us, it cuts us off from reality. It will cut you off from reality, and then you begin to, run permutations and calculations. He beats me, but at least he's generous. He beats me, but he's generous. Have you heard that before? He beats me, but he's a generous guy. She cooks very well, but she is rude and disrespectful. You've heard of that? That's exactly what a lot of people have put themselves into. That's what they've put themselves into. So a lot of relationships and marriages are built around availability. Availability. Not around values and principles. Not around all that. Availability. You are available, I'm available, that's it. If I leave you, who will I go meet? Fear of the unknown. As I said, fear of the unknown. I'll expatiate on that later. Fear of the unknown. When will I find this kind of fine girl again if I leave her? Although she sleeps with other men. When will I find this kind of man if I leave him? Although he's physically and emotionally abusive. And they excuse all those red flags just because they have the fear of the unknown, and it is that person that is available. Relationship is not for weak people. Marriage is not for weak people. Relationship and marriage, they are actually for elevated people. People with an elevated consciousness. That's the only way you can have the best, maximize the institution of relationship and marriage. If not, you're going to be a victim. You're going to be a victim. If you don't elevate your consciousness, if you don't build your self-identity, you don't discover yourself, you don't build yourself spiritually, mentally, raise your consciousness up to an elevated level. If you don't do that, you are going to end up a victim in the same institution that would have made your life amazing and pleasant. What marriage is meant to do is meant to add to you. That's what marriage is meant to be for. Marriage is meant to add to you, not to just take from you. Marriage is meant to compensate for the things that you, how do I put it now? As a single person, you're alone, you're living your life, you're doing a lot of things. Marriage is meant to compensate for a lot of things that you were doing alone when you were single. Not to take from you. Marriage is not meant to diminish you. And one of the ways to know that you married wrong is if your marriage has not added anything to you. Since you got married, your life went from whoosh, then you know you didn't marry right. Simple. Fact. I'm not saying that we're not going to go through challenges in life. I'm not saying that things are not going to happen. There are inevitables in life. But if your story in your 10 years of marriage is you were never elevated from where you were to, a higher realm, then that's one of the signs that you actually did not marry right. Marriage should add to you, not just take from you. Because there's a lot of compromise involved in the concept of marriage. The institution of marriage presents a lot of opportunity to make compromises. So there must be reward for those compromises. If you are making compromises in your marriage, there should be reward for those compromises. That's it. So the reason people go from here up here to down here, the reason people are diminished is because they are not getting rewarded for their compromise. Marriage should reward you for your compromise, because the truth is we cannot deny the fact that you have to make compromise in your marriage, whether you like it or not. You must sharpen your individuality. You must be authentic, but you must also be ready in marriage, in relationship, to give up some of your individuality. But then, if you are giving up your individuality and you're not getting rewarded, what happens is you get drained. That's why a lot of people are getting drained. And that's why you look at your life like, my life was better before I got married. How come in 5 years of marriage, I have nothing to show for my marriage? Because you got married and you started making compromise for your marriage, and your marriage was not rewarding you for those compromises. So marriage is meant to reward you for your compromise. I hope somebody will write that down. Marriage is meant to reward you for the compromises that you are definitely going to make, like I said. If your marriage is not the reason why you have nothing to show for your life in your 5 years, 10 years of marriage, because your marriage has never rewarded you for your compromise. This is very important, brothers and sisters. This is very important. That's why you are drained. That's why you feel empty. That's why you are frustrated. There is a lot of people that are depressed in their marriage. This is why people are depressed. I hope you know that. That's why people are depressed. Because your marriage is not rewarding you. It's depleting you. You are depleted by your marriage. That's what's happening, brothers and sisters. It's not rewarding you. I had a topic in mind, and then this just came spontaneously like this. So I'm just going to focus on this, what I'm saying now. The topic is how to know a potential cheat or adulterer. But along the line, this other topic came spontaneously. So you will be depleted. Yeah. And your life will retrogress if your marriage is not rewarding your compromise. You are definitely, if you want to marry, except you don't want to marry, if you are going to marry, one of the things that marriage would require from you, requirement, is your ability to compromise. Yes. But you are compromising based on the fact that the marriage will reward you for your compromise. If the marriage is not rewarding you for your compromise, The marriage will deplete you. It will reduce you. Yeah, the marriage will be taken from you rather than just adding to you. I make a compromise, I am rewarded. I make a compromise, I'm rewarded. People are not getting rewarded in their marriage. That's the thing. People are not getting, and you see these signs while you're dating. This is why you need to register. You need to go right now to www.elevatedlifewithfemi.com and register for my free masterclass. And if you want to upgrade to the VIP, fine. If not, it's a free masterclass. If you're married, a lot of people right now, you are in a relationship that is not rewarding you for your compromise. How can you be in a relationship with someone you are making compromises and there is no reward, and you think you will not diminish, you will not be depleted? You think you'll be the same person that you were 2 years ago before you entered that relationship? This is why some people want to be single again. They just want to go back to being single because they enjoyed their single life. They had the freedom. They had the liberty to live their life the way they want to live it, albeit responsibly. But now they have met this person who, from a different background, they are also living, whether responsibly or not, that two people from totally different backgrounds, sometimes totally different race, sometimes totally different religion, would have to come together and build a life together. And then now that you have met the person, you know, there were times that you could come back home 11 p.m. Nobody would ask you any question. There were times that you could eat anything you want in your house. There were times that you did not have food in your house. And there was no burden to cater to anybody. But now that you have someone who is more or less like you are responsible for, from both ways, so now you have to make compromises. Now, the only way you are going to progress, the only way that you will not be depleted and drained and frustrated is that for every compromise that you make, the marriage will reward you for it. That's it. Marriage will reward you for it. Marriage will reward you for it. This is meant to be a 30-minute live session, so we have only 2 minutes left. So, 28th of October, we're having something called Live Right, Date Right, Marry Right.